Otakuology podcast with Otaku Mike and Jin Graves.
One.
Is it going?
Yeah.
Oh shit! I didn't. I was like, "Are we counting down?" Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Otakuology podcast. I am Otaku Mike, and if you've never listened to the Otakuology podcast before, we like to talk about a lot of different nerdy things. Sometimes anime and manga, comic books, video games, stuff like that, movies, everything. And with me, as always, is my co-host, Jin. How's it going, buddy?
Hey guys, what's up? Hey Mike.
You doing
What's
okay?
up? Yeah, besides that mishap of you not knowing we started.
I thought we were counting down. Like, my eyes got a little blurry, and I was like, oh, man. I thought we were counting down. I was like, man, is it messing up again?
Well, to tell you the truth, I probably threw you off because whenever it does the countdown, I always get the Cowboy Bebop theme song, man. And I did that, and then I went 3, 2, 1, and you probably were thrown off by that.
I was a little thrown off because I saw it counting up, and I was like, what is it messing up?
I was like, do I need to pause it? Do I need to stop it and start again?
I was like halfway paying attention.
I mean,
Anyways,
but
guys.
it happens, So.
Anyways, guys, hello. How's it going? Hope you're doing well out there in the internet. Hope everything's going well for everybody out there. Thank you for coming back to the Otakuology podcast. If you're a returning customer, or if you're new, thanks for listening.
Yeah.
We like getting the listens.
A returning customer.
Yeah.
Revolving door.
But I thought we would talk about a very interesting subject that has gone around the manga fandom for quite some time nowadays. It pops up here and there every once in a while. Some new mangaka gets hit with this particular allegation. But I thought I'd talk about supporting mangaka. When or if can you separate the manga from the mangaka if they do something so terrible, like a terrible crime, like possessing some CP, or some, doing something terrible, or like I said before, that illegal pornography, like we like to call it.
Right.
It's a thing that happens, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so after this,
After this, but if you don't know what we are talking about, let me get my computer right here. But a mangaka by the name of, is it Kinya Suzuki? Is that his name? Kinya Suzuki?
I think so.
Got caught with possessing illegal materials. He ordered illegal materials from Germany. They found him, and apparently his excuse was he just needed to have these particular magazines that protected children in awful situations.
Right.
Now, Gakko-chan is a fairly semi-popular manga. I know about it. You probably know about it. And that manga is like a 4 coma manga. It's very short stories, usually revolving around girls talking about.
And when we were first talking about this, I thought it was Gal Gohan. Is the one really? I thought that people were talking about, yeah. And then as people went, they were like, no, it's
Gakko-chan.
Please tell me Gakko-chan. I was like, yeah. Oh, okay.
Which usually revolves. It's like a joke manga, but it also revolves around talking about coming of age, hitting puberty, having questions about puberty and stuff like that. And to see him openly admit that he purchased this material that he had, I don't know if he had it in his possession. I think they might have caught it before it went to his place of residence.
Yeah.
Um, but apparently as well, he also like took off without telling anybody. Nobody knew where he was as well. I think his editor like had to like try to find him. Like,
Oh, I bet.
so there might be something else there that we're not seeing as well. Like he might have some kind of other mental problem as well. Because I'm gonna call if you're attracted to young child, that is definitely a disease and a mental problem. Like there's something wrong in your fucking head if you're sexually attracted to young children. I'm just gonna say that right now.
Right. Right.
Now
Yeah.
let's be upfront.
Well, and I feel the same way about that too, you know.
Yeah.
But like you said, like the one problem that I always think about with all this stuff is the fact of, on one side, are we getting them for everything that they could be? Because some people, you know, almost everybody's not just honest about, oh man, you know, I have this or that or anything else, you know, and there's probably going to be crimes that they're not going to get caught for.
Yes. And how long has this been going on for? Because if you look at, say, like the Roni Kenshin creator or the Toriko creator, which the Roni Kenshin creator, he was caught with illegal pornography, you know. He seemed to just get a slap on the wrist, it seemed like.
Right. Like he could pay for it or whatever.
Yeah.
Which I also think that was a thing of the times, because, you know, it was before they actually changed their laws around and moved the age.
But the thing is, it was a couple years ago. It was only a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Like, this was only a couple years ago this happened.
Right.
But saying it took, how long it possibly took to get it publicly known about these mangaka doing these particular things and possibly harming young children by purchasing said material, or even physically in person as well. Because whether or not you purchase this material or not, the children are still being victimized.
Right.
You know, by you viewing, purchasing, whatever you want to call it, you know.
Right.
But I lost my train of thought earlier because you interrupted me. Thanks a lot.
Well, buddy. I mean, I'll hop into it then.
Okay.
You know, the one problem that I really feel like too is like we don't look into this enough, I feel like. And I mean, I can't really say we as like America because of where its origin starts. But I really question a lot of the times, because we haven't ever seen anything pop up of, you know, like some kind of statistics based off of it, where it's like, hey, did this person get into being manga for this? You know, did somebody do this? You know, I mean, and that does make it more questionable too, because at some point, you know, I feel like us as manga readers and everything at some point do have to start questioning like every mangaka at that point. You know, it's kind of a thing, like we don't know, and we like some of these stories, we don't ever think about it, and will we ever be able to look close enough? I mean, you know, it's kind of like you know, how devastated would people be, you know, I'm bad with names, I can't remember, but like if the One Piece guy came out, you know, as
Ichiro Oda,
you know, as having this stuff, you know, what happens then? You know, what if his intent to write it wasn't for that? It was, you know, at some point, you know, maybe, you know, and this is all speculation and fake, you know, it's not real, because I don't want to ruin his reputation by saying, you know, it. But what if it came out, you know, well, in a couple of years that he was doing the same thing or whatever? Like, now it kind of puts everybody in the spotlight because none of us know, you know. We don't know.
It's not just for like shonen artists as well, or creators as well, because there was recently I heard about. I don't remember what their name was in particular, but it was also a male who he wrote for a very popular shoujo magazine. And he was,
Right.
I think he was famous. I don't know. But he got caught sexually assaulting his best friend's daughter, young
Right.
daughter.
Right.
So, and it comes to my attention, like, just recently, not even a year ago, we had the very popular manga Act Age. In Act Age, which I came to find out was created by two people, not one, and two people were hurt in this instance of the artist and the mangaka. But I feel like things have been cracked down so hard for that particular creator, the author, is the fact that his situation was so public. It was out
Right.
in the public. He tried
Right.
to grope and uh, inappropriately sexually touch girls,
Right.
and so I feel like he possibly would get a harder sentence and probably is canceled forever. I mean, I tried to look up the Toriko guy, and the last thing he created was in like 2017, I think.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know if the Roni Kenshin guy is bringing back his Roni Kenshin manga, his new one that he created yet or not. Because I know it was on hiatus for quite a while. I don't know if it's still created. He's still
You mean
creating it.
the refurbish or whatever?
Yeah, whatever it's called. Yeah, I don't remember what it's
Oh,
called.
no, that one's shitty. But
Yeah, but
um, but yeah,
but
I
but
mean,
but but what I was saying is we look at it as Westerners, um, and over here, if you do anything to a child or possess any kind of that stuff, it's a serious crime. You know,
right.
it's a serious crime to possess any of that stuff, and you are the lowest of the low. If you get convicted of it and you go to prison, you're you have a death sentence right there. You know,
Right. Right.
and we have to think of these laws throughout the entire world, but especially in Japan, we are seeing more and more of this. Is it a societal thing? And the fact that over there, two people doing this kind of stuff isn't really a criminal offense, like as severe of a criminal offense
Right.
because of the society that they live in.
Right.
Uh, because of the fact that there is about the whole like lolicon stuff, right?
Yeah.
The whole lolicon like fandom where like they're into like younger girls and whatever, and there's all animes and manga games depicting that kind of thing,
Right.
comes like, excuse me, like that's seeped into their culture. So would do you think that's possibly why we are seeing a lot of mangaka uh come out with these horrible charges against them?
Oh, do I think that's the reason why?
Yeah.
No, I think there's probably already something there, but the because the only thing you can question is if you the only way you can really look at it is did it happen before or did it happen after,
Hmm.
were they attracted to these things before they started writing it, and is that the reason why they started writing
Uh-huh.
manga and stuff to actually maybe pull people in,
Uh-huh.
or was it the other way around? Did they start and then just fall into it,
Yeah.
um and that's kind of another thing too, like in that aspect, do you think one of those is worse than the other, you know
That they were trying to pull people in?
yeah, do you think that it's worse for somebody to already be that way and then try and use manga to pull their fans in so that they can
Uh-huh.
have stuff like that, or do you think that they fall into it afterwards, and is that
That's that's really hard to say because I don't feel like you just fall into being sexually attracted to
Right.
children.
Right.
I personally feel like, now I'm not a doctor or anything, I don't know, or a therapist. I personally think that, that's probably with them and for quite a while.
Right.
They probably developed that when they're, growing up, hitting puberty, stuff like that.
Right. I mean, that's the thing too. Is like, what's the statistics on that?
Yeah.
What it do mangaka in Japan need to go through a more extensive vetting process than what they are?
Yeah.
We do get to see that with like Bakuman, where it's just you do this piece of art and a storyline and you send it in, and if it's good, then they try and put it out and publish it and all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But does there also need to be like some kind of test created where, well, we can't accept your art or whatever because you scored high on,
Like, kind
this
of like a Bechtel tests?
kind of, you know, like what their likes are and if they're on this and this and,
Uh-huh.
if they score high in like these three areas out of like 50 or whatever.
Like, are you saying that potentially we have to do extensive background checks on mangaka?
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for
Interesting.
sure. For sure.
Interesting.
And it just, that's the thing though, and part of it is there could be somebody still out there writing right now writing and drawing and everything that, maybe their victim is too scared and they haven't come out yet. I mean,
Or they
there's plenty
haven't
of
been
things.
caught.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's kind of the thing too. Like, we don't know at that point. And after this many years and having basically like almost one person come out a year every few years, is a little unnerving, especially how far their titles and everything get published and get licensed and everything,
Mm-hmm.
how far they go. And then for this to happen, it's kind of
Yeah.
like, what else is going on there?
Yeah. Like, you're so popular, you can possibly get away with it.
Right.
But, I mean, see, I never knew about the Toriko situation,
Right.
the creator of Toriko, but I did know about the Roni Kenshin guy.
Yeah.
I remember Toriko being popular, but was it like really popular?
I think it was just one of those that it was popular while it was coming out and a little after it ended, and then
It died
just,
out.
yeah, it's kind of like
Yeah.
Nura and the Yokai clan,
Because I know people
that
still talk about Roni Kenshin.
yeah, that one died off too, right? But Rurouni Kenshin's like more of a monumental kind of thing, especially like when it's one that a lot of people grow up with.
Yeah. But for him just to get a slap on the wrist, I think he paid like something like a little under like $2,000
Yeah,
for his crime. I don't
yeah,
know if he ever got any help or anything like that, or any therapy or anything like that. I don't know if he has just had to serve any jail time or anything like that. But it
right,
seems to me like to be in that possession of so many magazines and all this
right,
material, like, and you openly admit, yeah, I like girls in like middle school age, like, you
right.
got a problem
Well,
right there.
and then I feel like you have to ask about each individual situation. Like, we can collectively look at this as a whole, right? But the other
Hmm.
thing is you also, I think, need to look at it as on a case by case basis, because why did he basically like pay a fine and get a slap on the wrist while a lot of other people like well, let's just take the two extremes of this that I know of.
Hmm.
Why did Rurouni Kenshin is still published, still licensed through Viz, is still supported by them, and all this other stuff still going.
Well, they own
And
the
then,
character.
right, well, they do that, but they could just let it dissolve or whatever, like so many other ones that they've had
Yeah.
before. Because there's ones they don't even claim anymore. Claymore, Zatch Bell, um, some of the other ones like that. They don't actually even claim that that was one of their properties anymore, except for the manga floating around.
Yeah.
But why why did that happen in this way? Why did the stuff that happened with Toriko, why did it finish?
Yeah.
And then like the stuff with the Act Age guy, why was it immediately terminated?
I
The
think it was
stuff with
immediately terminated because of the fact that it was so public.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing though. We don't know that, because all this other stuff could have been finished. They could have gotten a few more volumes out, different things like that.
Yeah, but I don't think they would want that bad reputation. I mean, because think about it, Rurouni Kenshin was finished already when the
Right,
allegations came out.
right.
You know.
So, I mean, but they still support it and everything.
Yeah,
So,
and the question comes up: do you, as a fan, do you support the mangaka after you hear these particular allegations? Like,
right,
if you're continuously buying the manga and you hear about this, you're like, oh no, do I continue buying the manga? Do I
right,
openly say I actually like these said titles? Can you separate the art from the artist, as a lot of people like to say?
right,
And I think that might be a case by case basis. I'm not 100% sure, and that might just be opinion based.
right,
Honestly, um, because I mean it's all up to the particular person. Um, when it comes down to this, because I actually put a post out onto Instagram and Twitter,
mm,
and I was like, hey, question for the manga fans out there, if you found out that your mangaka of a manga that you really enjoy did something terrible, could you continue to support the artist, read their work, and go on, so forth and so forth? And I got some really interesting responses. One was, if I knew about it, if I was collecting and I knew about it, um, I would probably not continue collecting the manga. If I already collected the manga and then I found out about it, I would continue to read that manga. It's really interesting. Um, they also stated that that they also didn't really look at the author names, like they're just a name on a book. But
right.
in reality, he said as well that um, that they an author always puts a little bit of themselves into their works of art.
That's true.
You know.
That's very true. I mean, when I get done with the series, I usually read the afterwards where
Uh-huh.
the author's message
Uh-huh.
and what they say, like their journey of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But like with this, like we're talking about, that's another thing that I feel like now is in question. Can I fully trust whenever somebody says, "Oh, I went through this journey and it was such a good journey," or whatever? Well, why was it? Were you doing this stuff? Taking
Yeah.
advantage of girls? And I mean, not only that. I mean, that's just what these people that we've seen so far have. There could
Yeah.
be boys or whatever too.
That's true. And I actually, friend of the podcast, let me pull this up, see if I can get to it. Where is it? There it is. Friend of the podcast, Chai B, who is also an artist. Um, she uh was actually pretty highly affected by the announcement of Gauko Chan and what the artist did there, because she actually really enjoyed that particular manga. And her
Right.
being an artist herself, uh, let me see, what did she say? Uh, I'm trying to read it. Sorry.
Oh, I mean, you could read it word for word.
Okay. Well, she said, the unfortunate example of Gauko Chan, I really enjoyed the humorous take on the puberty and women's body in the sense that what was being I lost my place. Hold on.
You want me to try and read this? Is it
Yeah, you can
the
read it.
pictures you sent me earlier?
Yeah, you can read it.
All right, let's look at this bad boy right here. Why don't we? Let's see. Yeah, so it says the unfortunate example is Oshida Galko Chan. I really enjoyed a humorous take on puberty and women's bodies, in the sense that what was being experienced was normal and funny, objectively, of course. When it was revealed he was into underage pornography, I was devastated. I realized his depiction of women and puberty was not to portray it in a humorous, accepting, and positive light. It was fetishizing it. Perhaps I was naive for seeing it and thinking it was not malicious, but it wasn't as upsetting and clear until news broke of what he did. Long story short, I think you can enjoy the moments you had that make you happy about that author's work, but it's equally as important to understand the intention behind the work and realize it's something you can no longer support.
And that's just one example, really. I mean, I reached
Right.
out to
Well, and it's a big opinion. You know, that's
mhm,
another thing too. Is like you said, Chai is
an artist. An artist. She makes
yeah.
her living as an artist.
Right. So I mean,
Yeah.
she knows some of that stuff more
Yeah.
more than a lot of us do.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the thing, like she said, she enjoyed it. She
Hmm.
enjoyed reading it, and at first glance it looks like it's humorous and all this other stuff. But the other thing, that I think with that is you can read it and you're never going to know that, because the other impression with this is we can go back and analyze it now knowing and say,
Hmm.
oh, well, the reason why this was put in here was because of this guy's stuff or whatever. But then at the same point, too, we have to analyze, or we will analyze, unless you're not going to do that. We will
Yeah.
analyze everything else we read.
Well, yeah, and it's true. And you also reading something, you could just read it and not even pick up on that kind of thing.
Right, right. And it could be something in the exact same light, and it could be presented the exact same way, and the person presenting it does not have any malicious intent or anything
Hmm.
else with it. But because of this, we're going to think that. We're going to say,
Yeah.
no, this person is doing this for that.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
I mean, and spilling over a little bit too, we've only had guys be the main perpetrator on any of
Hmm.
this stuff. How weird would it be for us to have another Galco Chan book come out that's written by a woman, maybe, and
Hmm.
the same thing kind of happen?
Yeah.
What if she's portraying it and you don't really have a thing, like you can't feel safe about, oh well, yeah, it's only male mangaka or anything. It could
Hmm.
be anybody.
True. It could be anybody. You never really know. Although when you get into that, some, I mean, there have been women who have groomed or sexually assaulted pedophilia type of thing. Usually it's with like teenagers. Usually I've never heard
Right.
of really any woman sexually assaulting like a child or whatever. I've never seen that.
Yeah.
I've heard of other things, but um no, wait, I take that back. I have heard of one thing. Never mind. But I'm not going to talk about that.
Goodness.
um, and how we look at it as society sometimes when that kind of stuff happens with women. You know, I don't remember. It was a couple of years ago.
Well, and I mean, the other thing is, like I said, it brings up into that as well. Has that happened and it got looked over?
Like there's, I don't want to say like there's like a double standard, but It seems like they get off a little lighter than men.
Yeah. Sometimes there is.
Yeah, sometimes. Not all the time. Not all the time.
Right. Right.
But which begs the difference, can you actually separate the art from the artist?
Right.
Can you actually do that? And um I read when I put it out, uh Meet the Weeb family said he said that you can separate the art from the artist. Michael Jackson might have been a pedophile, but Thriller like is a really good album or whatever.
Right.
So yeah, I think you can separate the art from the artist, but it's like it. I think it in the back of my head, I think that'll always be there. Is the fact that this person did this terrible thing.
Right.
Like I love the X-Men movies.
Right.
I posted it on um on Instagram. I don't know if you saw my X-Men movie collection that I had or I have that I forgot I had uh
Yeah.
of all the different copies of X-Men that I had.
Oh my
Uh
gosh.
uh but the director Bryan Singer, who directed the first one, second one, I think he was like the executive producer on First Class, and then he directed, I think, Apocalypse and Days of Future Past. I think it was.
Yeah.
I can't remember. He might have directed Dark Phoenix. I'm not for sure, but he was, come to find out, a terrible person, and he might have sexually assaulted, molested, groomed young men. You know,
Right.
So how do I feel about that? I still love the X-Men movies. Even though they
Right.
have their problems, I still enjoy those movies. I own them all. I sit down and watch them. But in the back of my head, I always remember Bryan Singer is a terrible person.
Right.
Bryan Singer is a terrible person for what he did. You know. And you think about it as well, we go into different entertainment. Uh, do you know who Chris Benoit is?
Yeah.
You know who Chris Benoit is?
Kind of.
Do you know what he did?
No.
So Chris Benoit was a very popular wrestler.
Right.
For WCW, WWE, very popular. Chris Benoit murdered his family, then killed himself.
Right.
Uh, it's been debated for years whether or not he should be in the WWE Hall of Fame for his achievements. Forget what he did, the horrible thing that he did to his family, but just focus on the wrestling. Just focus on the wrestling, and he should be
Right.
inducted into the Hall of Fame. Some fans think he should. Some fans think he shouldn't. WWE has essentially erased him from existence when it comes to their catalog. You can still find his matches, but you can't look up Chris Benoit and he will not pop up.
Right.
You can still find his matches, but they're buried. They're buried in, and whenever they do a documentary or something, they don't show him
Right.
whatsoever, at all. They like basically washed him away from wrestling
Right.
in their eyes. You, it it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to say. It with me personally, I don't know. It's hard to say whether or not I could separate the art from the artist sometimes.
Yeah.
Even though I do
And I
love,
mean, that's true. I mean that there's a thing with that too. Like you brought up music. Michael
yeah,
Jackson.
yeah,
Well, that's one that honestly, we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know, but
Fully, you know.
yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that does point to it, but we can't exactly do that. But let's look at one that we do know. You
R.
know,
Kelly?
R. Kelly.
R. Kelly.
You know, R. Kelly. You know, and
Yeah.
it's kind of out there. Like we know a lot of this shit happen. You know, there's not. You know, you can't have
There's like multiple
40,
documentaries.
40, 60 victims, you know, all say the same thing and you keep telling them that they're a liar. Like that.
Or Bill
That
Cosby.
usually doesn't happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and what do you do with that? You know, we can't. I don't think we can always do that. There will always be, I think, and I will say this: I think there will always be um, a place in a lot of people's hearts for the first Space Jam movie. Um, and you know, the opening song, "I Believe I
It's
Can
in my
Fly."
heart. It's in my heart. Just
Yeah,
saying.
it is one of his songs, you know, and people are going to listen to that and they're going to love it. They're still going to, but the thing is now with all this other stuff, with other music they came out with, a bunch of other things, you know, do you really want to support that?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because I proposed the question to my wife last night while I was thinking up things to discuss and talk about this particular situation because it is kind of a hard situation to talk about.
right,
You know, with creators and stuff like that. You know, and I posed the question to my wife because my wife is a very very big Harry Potter fan,
yeah,
huge Harry Potter fan. And I said, I was like, look, hypothetically, what if J.K. Rowling did something so horrible? Let's say, like,
well, you know, she did,
she just came out against like transgender people. I mean,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
her opinion. That is her opinion, and I mean that's just her opinion. So,
right, but she
it,
lost a lot of fans because of that,
true, yes, but that's also her opinion, and she's under the freedom of speech for that. So she can, you know, technically say whatever she wants, you know.
right,
But I'm saying, what if J.K. Rowling did something so terrible? She came out about this. I was like, would you continue to support the Harry Potter franchise?
right,
And she was like, that's a very tough question to answer because Harry Potter, the books, meant so much to my wife when she was growing up and got her through this hard time in her life. And they just mean so much to her. Um she she feels like she would keep the books because the books have been with her forever. She would keep the books, read the books, but she would not support um like buying any merchandise
right,
from J.K. Rowling, and she would probably get rid of like all of her other merchandise, but keep the books. The
right,
books are like sacred. And then she started to break down and cry because like the books like meant so much to her. But I was like, look, this is just hypothetical. She's like, I know, but like
right.
I have this attachment to this stuff.
Right,
And like I would not she was like, I would not want that to happen.
right.
You know, and she knows
Well,
about
I mean,
that other controversy. And she's like, you know, that's her thing, you know. She doesn't
you
care.
know, we'll taking that and jumping back, you know, how many how many people, you know, girls in particular, you
Hmm.
know, and I want to point Chai back out, like she said, you know, with it. How many people did Galco Chan have that effect on?
Yeah.
You know, how many people, you know, girls that were coming of age and all this other stuff, did they feel like, hey, you know, Galco Chan is actually something like, I feel like it really gets me and things like
Hmm.
that, you know? And then for this to come out and their devastation of it.
Yeah. Or vice versa with the other titles out there, you know.
Right. You know,
Excuse me, sorry.
I mean, you know, what if your best friend from your old con days, you know, came out as something like that.
Who's my best friend?
You know, you got to sit in the car, you know, where he sat before in the DeLorean, and
Oh, with George R. Martin?
yeah, he got to sign your book that you were the best Lord of the Rings fan.
Oh,
For
I don't
him.
care about George R. Martin anyway.
I know, but I'm just saying, you know, what if because of all the stuff for him, like he was other people, like J.K. Rowling was for people with Game of Thrones and everything.
Yeah, yeah.
You
I
know,
mean, I
what
don't
if
know.
that came out?
Yeah, I feel like you can still enjoy. I feel like I'm going back and forth now with my opinion on this thing. I feel like some people can sit and still enjoy the works. Hey, can we pause for a second? Sorry about that. I had to take a phone call. What was I saying again? I forgot. Do you remember? Because I don't remember what I was saying.
You're saying about how it just seemed like everything was the same, and that, you know, you're kind of hitting on the same subject like over and over and over and over again.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I feel like somebody can still enjoy said work, regardless of what a person did. I mean, it always. I think it comes down to the person itself who is enjoying or who is affected by said material. Um, and that's all it is. That doesn't make the person bad. Uh, that you know, that doesn't necessarily mean they support said person who did said bad thing. Just
Right.
because you enjoy their work, that does not mean you support the creator in any
Right.
way, And I feel like with manga, there are people out there that do support the mangaka, and they're like, "Oh, he didn't really do anything that bad, and like they're kind of like almost like diehards almost.
Yeah.
And like when you get down to that, like there is a difference between an actual person and uh a drawing,
Right.
of a character. You could be the biggest lolicon in the world, and it's okay for you to like that kind of stuff. But when it starts bleeding over into the real world and you start thinking about that way towards actual human beings, then you have a fucking problem.
Right.
You have a fucking problem. When it comes to that, and you I don't think anybody should really stand up for these people. Uh in all reality, I hope these people get help. And they repent for what they did, and hopefully they can be rehabilitated. You know,
Right.
because it just seems like they just get a fucking slap on the wrist for the most part, other than their potential careers being ended. You know,
Right.
uh, but yeah, uh, yeah, it just sickens me to hear this again, that another one has done this type of thing or has something to do with children.
Yeah.
It sickens me, and it makes me question almost every creator nowadays, like you said before.
Yeah.
And
Right. Because you know, Rising of the Shield Hero. Oh my god. You know,
yeah, I love that.
are
I love
they
that manga.
that way? You know,
Yeah, I love that manga.
your favorite X-Men comics. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
is
yeah,
is is that person that way? You know, it really just puts a bad taste, I think, in everybody's mouth for everything.
Yeah, true. It does, and you know,
Which
it definitely
I
divides the fandom.
I do want to point out,
Okay.
we did have, and this is just kind of an overview. I mean, it's whatever, in my
Yeah.
experience, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Is that most people that liked anime, liked manga, and stuff like that, most of the time you were pretty safe. You're pretty safe around
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Besides drama shit, you're pretty safe around those people.
Mhm.
They might try and oh, what's the word that you like? Gate guarding,
Oh, gatekeeping?
gatekeeping.
Yeah.
You might
Gate
have like
guarding.
you might have people like that or something like that. And for the most part, manga, anime, things like that seem safe.
Yeah.
Unless it was a guy in a white van also offering candy.
And
You know,
puppies.
yeah, yeah, and puppies. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
But now, even like the people that we get those materials from, publishers, other people, executives, different things like that. Now it almost seems like, in the wide scheme of things, like even things surrounding manga are unsafe now.
Yeah.
And I think that's another problem. Is while we are picking up more manga, we're also now at the point with a lot of things of we don't want to pick up more manga because of some of this stuff.
Yeah.
You know,
Or you just don't,
because
or you can just go pick it up used. I mean, if you pick it up
right.
used.
Well, and I don't mean it like in that sense. I mean
Yeah.
it in like your safe place is now broken.
True. Yeah.
It
No, I
it
get
would
it.
be
I get
like,
it.
it'd be like if there was a particular coffee shop that you went to and that was your safe place. You went there all the time. You read a
Yeah.
book or whatever, and maybe some crazy guy went off, or he got held up at one time at gunpoint or something like that. And now this person's basically ripped your safe place away from you, and you're
Yeah.
no longer like, oh,
True. True.
so
Yeah.
I mean, things like that, and they all
Yeah. No,
happen.
I get it. I mean, this is a very complicated topic to discuss because I feel like there's no real cut and dry answer or reason to be like, oh, this is right or wrong. You
Right.
know, I feel like we can make our own assumptions and our own opinions on what's right or wrong when it comes to this, because there are very much a lot of different opinions regarding this within the manga community, especially when the whole act age thing happened, and it happened with Roni Kenshin. There was a whole ordeal, year long ordeal. It seemed like with that shit,
Right.
because you're like, oh no, you have Roni Kenshin in your collection. You obviously support pedophilia.
All right. I remember somebody telling me that, and I was like,
You know,
well, I really liked the series. I had it way before,
hmm
and nobody's gonna tell me what I can and can't own,
yeah.
basically, with different things like that.
I mean, if you're not hurting anybody
Right.
by owning a Roni Kenshin, uh, what is it? Is it just come down
Right.
to like own
Well,
morale,
and here's another
your
thing that I
morals?
want to. Here's another thing that I want to toss out there is, I got it before all that stuff came out.
hmm
Now, is it a thing where other people want to buy it still? Is
Yeah,
that a thing? And they don't care. They get around it and they go, "No, I just want to read that. I
yeah. You
don't
just
care
want to read
about
it.
the
You just want
guy."
to, yeah.
You
Fuck
know,
him. I just want to read it.
or do you have the people on the other side that go, "Oh no, I can't rip the mangaka off of the series,
Well,
so I'm not even going to touch it."
Well, a friend of ours said, it is a case by case basis, but if
Right?
something happened like that, um, he would just pirate it. He would just scan it.
Yeah.
So
I mean, but that's the thing. In some way, you're still helping the person. You know,
I
even
guess,
even if you're pirating it, it's still basically you doing that. But that's what I'm saying. Like, do you still separate it enough that after the fact, then you buy it? Or,
Yeah.
I mean, because that's also like somebody saying, well, I know there's only 2 volumes of Act Age that came out, but I still want to read that. Let me buy those,
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
True. It's you can say it's definitely a slippery slope, and it just comes down to you yourself and what you think.
Right.
I don't think there is a concise answer on what we should actually really do
Right.
when it comes to this kind of stuff. And it just comes down to your individual um, opinions on this matter. Honestly,
Right.
I feel like we kind of circled back around.
We circled the drain a couple times.
We circled the drain a couple times with this one. But yeah,
Trying to wait till you and I get close enough together so we don't fall down the drain.
I guess so. Do you want to end us with an ending statement or
Yeah.
something?
Heck yeah.
All right.
You like what you like.
You like what you like.
You like what you like. Just don't cross no lines, okay?
Don't be a pedo.
Yeah, don't cross no lines.
Yeah, don't cross no lines.
So,
yeah.
Anyway, though, as always, thanks for listening. Check out our other great content besides this one, because this one got heated.
Oh, I hope this one's a good content.
This would not be my first listen, okay?
This would not be your first listen?
No. But anyway, guys, again, thanks for listening. And as always, we will see you next Tuesday.